Hello and welcome to Gear for Music. My name's Liam.
And I'm Alex.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the Modal Electronics CRAFTsynth. Now we've got a few more pieces here on the table. We've got a MIDI keyboard, we've got an M Audio sound card, and we've got the iPad running the CRAFTsynth app. So Alex, why are we here? What we're talking about today?
Well, the main thing that we're here to talk about today is the new firmware update. Cool. So it's really, really easy to use and it's really simple to update from the app itself. As you can see from the app, it's really visual, it's really easy to see exactly what controls you get, and it just simplifies the process, really. Yeah,
I mean, obviously running the app with this little product, and it's a really powerful little synthesizer, is great because it gives you all these other options of control, and obviously there's controls on here. You can just use this alone, you can plug this in with headphones straight into an audio output, but it's the app that gives it that advantage. And, you know, tell us, you know, why have we got a MIDI keyboard here? Because this is different, isn't it, before? What's the advantage of this?
Yeah, exactly. So we've now got a MIDI keyboard on the table because we can link this all up. Basically, the way we've got this set up is we've got the CRAFTsynth with the camera connection kit. So it allows us to connect this to the iOS device.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be iOS because with the firmware update and with the app, it actually runs for iOS, which is iPhone, iPad, Android, Windows.
So you come across the board now,
so, yeah, it really is. So yeah, what we can do is we can use a hub and we can add a MIDI keyboard so we can start playing it. Really, really easily, instead of having to use the little keys on here.
So now we've got controls obviously on the keys, but also controls on the iPad.
Yeah, of course.
And that's a huge advantage. And this could be any MIDI keyboard, this could be any audio sound card, or it just has to be a hub actually, USB hub, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. Any hub will be fine for this. As long as it's powered, then it will run the whole system. And to be honest, you don't need to have the MIDI controller because you can do everything from inside of the app.
Yeah, so you could just set this up with the app and play. So obviously there's a keyboard on the app. So if we go to live,
really handy.
Yeah, we can just play, we can just switch through octave. And also there's some controls, extra controls here, so you can kind of adjust things and then you can flick back to the editor, which is really easy, really quick, and the sound is really, I'm really quite surprised at the sound quality because although it's tiny and it looks kind of open-ended and obviously, you know, one of the parts of the design is it is just, you build it yourself, don't you?
Exactly.
Really cool.
It takes, what, 5 minutes to build, if that, and you've got yourself a fully fledged synth.
Yeah, it's great.
One thing that's great about the app and what I really like about it is the fact that once you use it in an app, it means that you can add to it, so you can add new functions. There's functions in the app that you don't actually have on the unit itself. So the multi-mode filter, so you can morph between them. That's really, really useful.
Show the filter a little bit there. Sounds a bit Dalek-esque.
It's a little bit Dalek.
Doctor Who.
Yeah. What's great as well about the app is the way that you can access your presets. Because before, getting presets is, you know, is easy enough to do, a little bit fiddly.
Control,
but, I mean, with here, it's as simple as you go into here, there's all your presets. Click one and you're off. Spooky organ, that sounds good.
Yeah, play some. That is scary.
Very scary.
That is really scary.
But very easy to just start using.
Yeah, and then obviously just really quick to jump back to the app and
exactly. And you can use the app so you can move the presets back onto the unit. So if you're not using the app, your presets are stored. Create them on here, store them on the unit.
Great. And also we've noted that on this controller, for example, this keyboard, there's additional controls here which actually control the envelope. And I'm sure with further updates, they'll be controlling different areas so you could pre-program them or route them to different parts of the application. It's also controllable via a modulation wheel and a pitch control, which is cool for playing those extra little elements of sound, isn't it?
Of course. Unfortunately, we can't show you that because we don't have one on here. But believe us, it works very, very well.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the interesting functionality with the application. One part I'm really interested in is the spread function, which is within the scale section. This allows us to kind of select different keys. So we've got minor, we've got seventh, and this kind of spreads the oscillators to give you that chord sound. We can go right up to major, we have major octave. What's quite nice is the seventh, so I'll jam that down. Give some keys in that. A really kind of nice open chord sound. We can change the glide function on that as well, so we can add a little bit more glide, so it'll switch between the keys. Actually up the octave, obviously just playing different keys. It's a really cool little element to what's a monophonic synth. We've also got the LFO.
Yeah, and the LFO is really easy to set up on here. It's really, really visual. So that sits in this section just here. So we've got our shape, we've got our destination, and we've got our rate and depth. So all we need to do is choose what we want to do. So I've got a pretty simple sound at the moment. I want to choose the sine wave, and I want to choose the cutoff because I want to modulate the cutoff because that's what everyone wants to do. And then all I need to do is set the rate. And I can set the depth as well, so if it's too much, I can reduce it. So you can go from something that sounds like a big fat dubstep bass to something which is really mellow and kind of subtle, and the sounds just sort of morph in slightly.
Just adds a nice new dimension to something, doesn't it?
It does. It just adds a little bit of life to the sound, otherwise they can sound a little bit static.
Yeah.
And it's easy to change as well, so if I wanted to change the LFO so it controlled the mix between the two oscillators, or pulse wave modulation, or the way that the FM side of it works, it's really straightforward. And you can see that can add a really, really good sound. I mean, even I had it down 0. Slowly
Adding a small amount.
bringing it in. It just starts adding to the sound. It makes it really interesting.
Gives it kind of nice movement, doesn't it? A phasing kind of sound to it, doesn't it?
Does,
when you have that low end setting.
I guess it's kind of replicating what would happen with a real instrument. So if you were playing a guitar, if you were playing a, let's say like a flute, and it's a really interesting thing because when they were first designing these synths back in the day, they were using the LFO so that they could create that texture, so it did sound like a real instrument.
So also got a frequency which we played around with earlier, didn't we? And got this.
We did, yeah. It was quite interesting.
It's a pitch frequency control, which has a really kind of really phased, flangery sort of sound. Those guys making alarming house. But again, it's just a nice extra element. It's cool to play around with, isn't it? I think that's what's really interesting about this is you can just jam on it, can't you?
You can, and you can have two people jamming. One could be controlling on here, the other person could be controlling using the app. So you can really get involved.
Check your local clubs because we're coming. We're going to be there next. The Bros Brothers. Yeah. Okay, let's go through a few more presets, and I'm going to play around with the LFO and a few different settings and talk about it as we do it. Alex, do you want to pick a preset?
Yeah, so just go into preset mode. That's my favourite one, Cooperation.
We're not corporate, by the way, just in case anyone's wondering. Really nice sound, that, isn't it?
Great sound, isn't it?
It actually reminds me of another synthesizer, which we can't talk about in this video, but it's definitely got that kind of sound to it. So I'm just going to play around with the filter here as Alex is controlling the keys. You can just hear it nicely change over. We can change the resonance there, really focus that point. Play around with the LFO as well. Let's change it to, keep it on cut actually, well, let's change it to a triangle. Just increase the rate a little bit there. So got a nice kind of really quick moving LFO. Jam the depth up a little bit and bring it down slowly. Nice.
Yeah, it's a nice sound.
Yeah. Add a little bit more on the feedback on the delay effects there. And then I'm just going to take down the rates and the depth. Try changing that to FM. Maybe change the LFO wave. Bring in the cut. It's quite cool actually when you've got the effects on, isn't it? When you kind of take up a note and then take the filter down and release the note. Really hear that kind of reverb delay effect. Okay, so let's pick a different preset. I'm going to go with big lead.
Big lead. So for that, I think we'll go up a couple of octaves.
Yeah. Sounds like sounds like a classic organ sound, doesn't it? That I was reminding me of Martin off The Simpsons at one point. Where is it? Let's change the frequency there on the LFO. It's really interesting.
Just waiting for the explosion at the end.
Let's change that to FM. Maybe play.
Already the FM's giving it a really metallic sound, very FM
very
sound.
Sharp, top end.
Very sharp.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Do you want to jam another one up?
Yeah, let's go with Acid Stab.
Cool.
Just bring that down a bit.
Yeah. One thing you said earlier as well about this is the low end frequency is really good, isn't it?
It is, it's really rich, and it does sound like a big fat synth. Not just a small little build your own kit.
That is coming from this small synthesizer. Cool, let's pick another one then. Let's jam on, I quite like metallic actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it back up. A bit more.
So just playing around with the delays.
I mean, sounding like a kind of electric sitar or something similar. That's quite nice, that.
That sounds nice, doesn't it? Really
like that, yeah. And it, you know, it's really easy to just play around with the LFOs, add a little bit more interest to it. Let's take the cutoff. Playing the filter there. And the app's actually really responsive to doing these kind of like little...
It is. It is almost... Well, I'd say it is in real time. You touch something and then it happens. So
Yeah.
it's really tactile. You know, when you're playing with it, you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what's happening. And it's very straightforward.
It's great that because it really takes away from the fact that, you know, this is an outboard synthesizer, so, you know, you're not using a mouse to control the effects. If you've got an iPad, although it's still a, you know, processing unit, you're using your hands on. It's more like controls, which is, you know, what we enjoy, isn't it? In
Yeah,
kind of
very much
so, yeah.
One thing that I found with this app as well is that if you're new to synthesizers and it's something that you want to get into and you want to learn about how all the functions work, this is a really good way to do it because it's very visual. It's very easy to see exactly what you're doing. And it's very simple to start changing things. And it makes sense the way that the app's actually set up. So it is really good. And I wouldn't be put off by it. Get involved and start making sounds because it really is nice and easy to use.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Obviously, the application, all of these tools apply to pretty much all analog, electronic, digital synthesizers from, you know, way back to kind of Kraftwerk Moog sort of era. You know, the same controls are applied on this application. So once you learn these, you know, you can develop and maybe pick up different synthesizers and understand what you're doing. So it's really good, yeah.
So we've changed the setup slightly. I've got my Microsoft Surface, which is running Windows 10. The app runs really, really well on Windows 10. So all I need to do is unplug it and plug the USB straight in. So there we go. It's jumped up straight away and we can see all the controls. Really, really nice and visual, just like it is on the iPad. And you can control it all with your mouse or you can control it all with the touchscreen, however you really want to do it. You've also got the keyboard in there as well, so you can jump to the keyboard. It doesn't seem to want to work. There we go.
So obviously this works with all Windows devices, which is great for obviously anyone owning a PC, laptop.
That's correct, yeah. And I say Windows, Mac, iOS and Android, so it's covering all bases. So you've got your iPhone.
So if you don't have a laptop or an iPad and you're thinking, how am I going to play this with the application?
How am I going to get those extra features?
You wouldn't have any idea how to do that. So you can actually do it with the trusty phone. This could be Android or iPhone. Yeah, do you mind popping that back in there for me, Alex?
Yep, and you will need the camera kit again.
So yeah, just so you can connect it straight to your iPhone. So I'm just going to unlock my iPhone here. This is mine, I swear. Okay, so the CRAFTsynth app is open. Just pop that in there and we should be good to go. So obviously, if you don't have a laptop, you don't have an iPad, you're thinking, how am I going to do this? You know, how am I going to make these sounds, get these sounds out, use the application? You can use a phone.
You can, really straightforward. So there's the USB. If you want to plug it into the camera kit.
So this is just a standard camera kit to connect to the iPhone. This could be an Android phone though, or any phone. And there we go. We're ready to go. And what's interesting, something you noted was you can have it in portrait mode or is it landscape and portrait?
Yeah, portrait and landscape. And it's resizing itself, so it's all still really easy to use and visible.
You have the power of control over people, so you could set this up in your room and really scare someone.
You could if you want to scare somebody.
It's obviously got all the applications. We've got the presets we can go through and test. It's got the different oscillators. And all the applications that were on the iPad. Obviously, you know, you have less room to see what's going on, don't you? But
you do, but it's still great. And you still have the on-screen keyboard as well.
Which is really useful, which is just there. But, all right, that's the keyboard at the top there, sorry.
There you go.
So really good for portability as well. You could just jam some headphones in and be on the train or the tube or a bus or a bike, you know, anything really, and be playing live. Yeah,
and just on the subject of portability, you don't even need to use it with a USB cable.
Yeah.
There's also a battery pack that you can get as well. The battery pack basically plugs in here, 2 batteries, and all you need is the CRAFTsynth and a set of headphones. So you'll be sat on the bus and just make sounds.
Yeah.
That's how easy it is and straightforward.
And obviously because it's digital, it's really light. You could actually just take it apart and slot it into your bag, really, couldn't you? Which is great about it.
If you wanted to, yeah, of course you could do.
But yeah, so that's the CRAFTsynth. Thanks for watching this video on the Modal Electronics CRAFTsynth. As they release further firmware updates, we'll create more videos for you. For more information on this unit and others, check out the Gear for Music website. My name's Liam.
And I'm Alex.
And thanks for watching.